Limnic eruptions are a rare natural phenomenon in which dissolved carbon dioxide erupts from deep lake waters, forming a gas cloud capable of suffocating wildlife, livestock and animals. Aside from this reminding me oddly of the pie warmer in my old high school's canteen, it does tend to remind me of how eager we are to base music off real life things that are known to be lethal, disastrous, dangerous and unknown, commodifying terror into .wav files that will be handed out on SoulSeek with a link to your upcoming mixtape. All of the snark aside, I think this is really interesting. It seems part of our human experience to be scared off and interested by the unknown, because regardless of what science there is to explain it, if I were to stare deep into a sinkhole, I would still get the heebie-jeebies. Art takes after anything and is all the more fascinating for this reason. I don't really know why I rambled about this in hindsight, but I did want to introduce people to the concept of Limnics, so I could talk about Limnics, the sophomore album from Lavair, who was part of the diverse internet grassroots community music label Bloompunch. What Lavair specializes in is exciting from the get-go. I've always thought that wonky and glitchy beat music had a lot more potential to evoke so much more than just Minecraft YouTuber intros, so whatever producers there are out there that can piece the soundscapes together in much more creative and colourful ways would warrant a bit of a brofist. Not only does Limnics effectively emulate those gaseous and aquatic characteristics, but structurally you can also tell it's building up to a rather bulky eruption, as the sub-bass really ramps up in volume for the last couple of tracks. In its best moments the results are otherworldly, charging in with full force into intergalactic territory like the 300k people about to swarm Area 51. It's the first half of the album that pulls me right in. The soundscapes are honestly the most intriguing, dissonant and detailed, and sounds like something poisonous is seeping in. But not only that, the groove that runs through the 1-2 punch of tracks Science and Cobra is, as many would say, on some other shit. It maintains this great balancing act of a bouncy rhythm and having such an intricate, unique atmosphere of its own, or in other words, it hops and skips and bops and blips. This flooded town remains a highlight also. The drawn out harmonies are gorgeously reminiscent of the underwater world, and the steel drum melody makes me think of a tropical paradise, but one that is smoked with such a disoriented and hazy atmosphere that gives it the depth, makes like a souffle and rises to the top. The rest of the album begins to sound quite muddy, quite compressed, which I suppose makes sense given its concept, but it does mean the music doesn't have a lot of breathing room, which in turn I also suppose makes sense given its concept. That's 2 checks in a row, I'm fucking up. It becomes a problem on the mop stick, which has such beautiful sound design over the top of a propulsive drum and bass breakbeat, but the sub bass gets way ahead of itself halfway through the song and plows smoke through my ear like it was using it as a cone piece. The second track with Mark 1 rapping on them proves a little bit too busy to even hear his voice, creating a bit of a hodgepodge instead of letting either Mark 1 or the instrumental paint the setting, and instead clumsily opts for both.
Shoot the messenger, backstab the first writer, the second writer can write the eulogy for the worst fighter.
At the very least, it all sounds like it's fitting well into the very engaging concept for Lavair's album, which I couldn't say at all for Made of You, the one track that actually sees fit to blast you with a bro step drop, the Monster Cat dubstep type sub-bass blasting that would get a squadron of gamers sweatier than Overwatch porn. It seems out of place. On an album with mostly intricate rhythms and soundscapes that remind me of the mysterious Limnic eruption, I'm not really looking forward to a track that'll instead take me back to Tron. I probably should disclaim that the album itself is very good overall. I'm not just here to poke holes in it like the Very Hungry Caterpillar. I think my score could have become a 7 and not just a 6 though. The kind of thing I recommend very heartily but didn't capture all of my personal liking. There's a lot of creativity in how Limnics is done. There are even 2 book-ending tracks that represent serenity and suffocation. I just wish a lot of the creative detail wasn't drowned out by all that sub-bass. Maybe it is supposed to sound menacing, like the poison leaking through the air, but it seems a little bit too much like a cop-out. If you have a complex palette of flavors, it would just be a shame to douse it all in tomato sauce.